So we're here to talk today about a grant program that EBCE recently launched to offer area commissary and community kitchens the opportunity to electrify all or part of their kitchen. To start off, I thought I would do a little bit of an introduction to East Bay Community Energy as an agency, and then I'll go through the grant details, and then I'm really trying to save as much time as possible towards the end so that we can have some discussion about the grant requirements and what you can expect. So a little bit about East Bay Community Energy. We are a local power provider. We work in partnership with Pacific Gas and Electric, the incumbent utility. When a CCA is formed, and it is formed through a vote of public agencies who decide that they would like to take over ownership of where energy supply comes from in their communities, then the CCA becomes the default provider of electricity for that community. Again, I mentioned that we work in partnership with the incumbent utility. EBCE takes over ownership of generation sources and decides basically where the electricity that is delivered to your building comes from. PG&E still maintains the transmission and distribution infrastructure to take that energy from the generation source and deliver it to your house. EBCE was formed through a vote by several member agencies in Alameda County. Currently, we are providing service to all municipalities within Alameda, with the exception of Pleasanton and Newark. As of spring of next year, we will be enrolling Pleasanton, Newark, and the city of Tracy in San Joaquin County into our EBCE program. EBCE offers 3 basic products. This is not the rate class, but these are the products. The products are different portfolios of energy generation assets that have different characteristics. The default product that most communities are enrolled into is the Bright Choice product. Bright Choice has more renewables than PG&E and has guaranteed lower rates than PG&E. Historically, EBCE has also offered a Brilliant 100 option that has 100% clean energy at the same rate. However, we're halting new enrollments into this product. If that's something you're interested in, reach out to us and I can let you know the timeline that we're envisioning for potentially reopening that product for enrollment. However, if clean energy is what you're interested in, then Renewable 100 is still available. Renewable 100 is not a clean energy product, it's a 100% renewable energy product, meaning that all of the resources that go into that product qualify under the renewable portfolio standard. That product is a little more expensive. It costs 1 extra cent per kilowatt hour relative to the Brilliant 100 product. What are the benefits of being involved in a CCA program? We work to keep our rates lower than the incumbent utility, PG&E. Your dollars stay in the community. We are government employees. All of the money that goes on electricity revenue is either invested back into the organization to offer programs such as the one that we're discussing today, or they go back to customers in the form of rebates and incentives. We're a not-for-profit company, so we don't generate extra money from this, and whatever money we make stays in the community. Sustainability, obviously, core on everyone's mind with the crazy fire events that we've been experiencing earlier and earlier every year. Committing to a higher renewable energy product helps us to reduce carbon emissions and try to mitigate some of the warming that's happening in our climate right now. And finally, it provides customer choice. Prior to there being a CCA program available here in Alameda County residents did not have a choice of who they wanted to choose as their energy provider. Now you can work with PG&E or you can work with us. It's up to you. We are not the only community choice aggregator. This map shows the different CCAs that are in operation just in the Bay Area. There's a bunch more that are operational down in Southern California. The first is in peach color there. That was Marin Clean Energy, MCE. They launched their product in 2012. And after that, many local governments saw that there were obvious benefits to this sort of model, and they grew very quickly across the Bay Area. So now we're going to switch over to a little conversation about induction. And I have to apologize for the fact that this is going to be a very boring presentation because my computer crashed and I lost much of the content, so there are no pictures. Everybody can feel sorry for me and we can move on. So first of all, what is induction and why should I use it? The first most important thing that I want to communicate to all chefs who might be listening is that induction cooking is not electric resistant. When you think about electric kitchens, you frequently think about those electric resistance coils that were on everybody's ovens back in the 70s. That was really the heyday of electric resistance, 70s and 80s. Those are not the form of technology that we're discussing. Induction technology actually uses magnets to heat a ferrous surface. Now this means two things. Number one, it only actually generates heat when there is a ferrous product on top of the cooktop. What that means is that if you accidentally leave your induction hob on and you take a pot off it, it's not going to stay hot. Therefore, it's much safer in terms of mitigating potential accidental burns in the kitchen and things like that. The other really neat thing about this technology is that it makes it incredibly efficient because because electric resistance uses resistance to pushing electrons through a coil to create waste heat, basically, that is put off through the resistance. It's not extremely effective. It's basically creating waste out of energy and using that to heat your surface. Burning natural gas is pretty direct. You burn the gas, you heat the bottom of the pot, but you're also heating the kitchen, you're heating the area around you. Only so much of that heat that you're generating through the combustion of the gas is actually transferred to your cooking surface. But when you use induction, the hob heats the pan itself. So it's a direct transfer of heat through electromagnetic forces. Because of that, as I mentioned, it's incredibly safe. Most hobs aren't in operation when there isn't a pot on them. You can actually touch the induction hob while it's on and not burn yourself. Any heat that's generated on the cooktop itself is residual heat that comes from the pan. I had some pictures up here to show where it's basically a pot of water, a half pot of water on a hob boiling and an ice cube sitting on the other part of the hob. So it just really helps to exemplify that concept. Many chefs are actually finding that induction works better for them in a kitchen for many reasons. It's quicker. We ran a couple trials with some hobs that we had back in the office, and we boiled water in under 2 minutes with the different hobs. So it's very fast. It's more precise. When you are working with a gas burner and you want to turn the heat down, you still have the residual heat left in the grill for quite some time. You don't have that same thing with an induction burner. As soon as you turn down the energy, it immediately turns down the heat. The residual heat in the pan is the only heat that remains in the system. What that means, particularly with thin pans, is that you can get something to heat and then bring it down to a temperature you want very quickly with much control. And then finally, of course, it's better for the environment. Combustion of natural gas is a greenhouse gas emission source. It releases carbon dioxide. It's not the only thing it releases, however. When you're burning natural gas in your kitchen, you're releasing carbon monoxide, nitrous oxide, and particulate matter, all things which can aggravate asthma and can really make for a less healthy indoor air quality in your kitchen environment. So switching to induction can actually help improve the health of your kitchen. So let's move on to the grant real fast. I have a few slides to talk about what it is that we're doing here and what we're looking for. Now, the objective of the grant is really to promote induction technology among the chef community. We think that there's really a lack of exposure. This is not a technology that has taken foot here in California for whatever reason. And we think it's a superior alternative to much of the natural gas technology that's out there. So what we're hoping to do is, through partnership with your kitchens, which really have very high throughput of chefs in the region, gain increased exposure to this new technology. We're also interested in seeing how we can leverage these investments in your kitchens to promote induction among the broader community, single-family residential homeowners, renters, whoever is interested in kitchen technology and a healthier and better cooking experience. And then finally, we're also interested in accomplishing other potential energy efficiency or greenhouse gas mitigation measures that we may be able to find in the project. In order for you to be eligible to apply for and receive funding under this grant, you must be either a commissary or community kitchen in the Alameda County area. You must be an EBCE customer. This is because the program is funded through revenue paid by EBCE customers, and so we need to keep those funds with folks who are actual customers. If you're not sure, if you're an EBCE customer, the best way to find out is to look on the third page of your PG&E bill, and you may see third-party charges, which represents your electricity generation charges for participating in the EBCE program. If you still can't figure it out, feel free to give me a call, get in touch with me. I can get you in touch with one of our account representatives, and we can figure it out. We are asking that each applicant include at least one natural gas to induction switch out. We're really trying to capture greenhouse gas mitigation measures and exposure to induction cooking. So while we are very encouraging of other electrification measures, such as, I've heard stock pots are a big one for folks. Maybe you'd like to switch to an electric convection oven. We're very happy to entertain all of that as well, but the project has to include at least one natural gas to induction switch out. And to be more competitive, finding ways that you can really switch out more induction cooktops from natural gas, find strategies for making sure that more chefs will use the induction. Like that's our objective here. So that's a really great way to be competitive. We're asking that you include as much information on your proposed project as possible. I'll have some time in the question and answer to get feedback from you all on whether or not what we've requested is feasible. And then finally, we'd like to identify any potential co-benefits. Does your kitchen provide services to the community? Are there ways that you can increase the exposure of induction through partnerships with different outreach arms? Anything that you can identify that you think is unique and special about what you're offering, we're really interested in hearing. The full program pot of funds is $160,000. We are willing to consider applications for either full kitchen electrification, or if you're only really ready to switch out a station or two, we'll consider grants for partial kitchen electrification. Again, as long as at least one induction switch out is included in that. EBCE will offer technical support. We've contracted with an organization called TRC Engineers who has a lot of experience running kitchen conversion programs, and they're available to help evaluate technology options, advise you on which appliances make sense. They're willing to do some bill analysis to see what the potential billing impacts of your project would be, for example. And they're also willing to help evaluate electric line diagrams, single line diagrams, to understand if your kitchen has the capacity to take on more electrified end uses without having to make infrastructure upgrades, such as a service panel upgrade or a PG&E line service upgrade. And then finally, as I alluded to before, if you would like to include an additional proposal as part of your application for how you may leverage the new technology that we've helped fund for additional marketing and outreach, particularly those that reach the larger community, then we're very interested in hearing that. Those would be separately funded, not part of the $160,000 overall pot, would be evaluated and considered on a one-off basis. So I'm going to close the webinar and see if we can move to question and answers. Can folks speak up, or are you able to turn yourself off mute if you have any questions?
I'm here, Mark.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Great. Thank you, Mark.
Awesome.
Yes, I can. Thank you. And I apologize again for the delay.
Oh, no worries.
I appreciate your patience.
Yeah, no, I was just making sure it happened. Yeah, I mean, all this sounds great. Definitely interested in finding out more about PRC. We've got kind of a wide array of equipment. Would want to find out if there's actually comparable equipment out there, such as we have deck ovens, which, I mean, right now, like I told you the other day, we have all gas in our new location, but that doesn't mean, like, I definitely would be open, especially if the grant is available, to switch that out. We have 2 6-burners that could all be induction, a char broiler that grill that we have 2 of those, and interested to see what's on the market for that. And you know, not opposed to that. We have double stack deck ovens, or sorry, double stack convection ovens with steam. And so same thing with that, just looking at, you know, what's out there, traditionally the problem I've known, talking to some bakers, for instance, is they've noticed a significant difference in using an electric oven versus a gas oven. And I'm not sure if technology has kind of addressed that yet, to kind of make up. And I'm sure it's also the quality of the equipment varies greatly. But with convection, there's probably a lot of different options there. And yeah, I think we've got, I'm not sure if PRC is able to do an on-site, but just to evaluate the input from PG&E, and I'll have to go back through my bill. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it to see if we have EBCE on our bill. Is that a process to change that out, or what does that look like to be able to qualify?
Yeah, that's a good question. We would ask that you opt in. I would say 97% of Alameda County electric meters are participating in our program. So the chances are you likely are already active in the EBCE program, especially if it's a new account. New accounts are frequently enrolled, and our product is a default. But that's easily something we can follow up on.
Yeah, I'll check it. I don't have it in front of me, but I'll check that this morning. Okay, and then yeah, and you so the grant, if it's divided, whatever portion you get, you would work with the awardees to figure out kind of to make that whole thing within their scope. Just right now, we definitely don't have the ability to take on more funds, but that you said that can be used for the contracting permits, the actual installation, equipment. Does that include, because you do have to use ferrous pots and pans, does that include the ability to buy those as well? Perfect. Okay.
It does.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks I forgot to mention that. Yep. EBCE is covering the full cost of the project. One of the questions I had back to you folks was whether or not you felt that you had what you needed to be able to meet what we've asked for in the grant requirements, or if some of those requests that we made were too challenging this early on in a project. So that's some feedback I'm looking to receive from the community so that we can think about that. I also see that Charlie has his hand raised. Charlie, do you have a question you wanted to ask quickly?
Yeah,
Or not quickly?
a couple of questions. I'll start with the first one I entered into the chat. I just want to make sure that I understand whether or not our organization is actually eligible for this grant. We're a nonprofit. We're a Meals on Wheels organization. We're serving 60 to 65,000 meals per month right now to homebound seniors throughout the EBCE service area. But there aren't other organizations or other individuals who come in and use our kitchen. So it wouldn't naturally, the way things work right now, be a great opportunity for outreach efforts. If our service numbers stay where they are right now, it would be very difficult for us to find times that would make sense for EBCE to be able to come in and do other events in our kitchen to show off the equipment you helped us get. Although I love the idea of that. So if this is really about kind of educating as many people as possible to the benefits of switching to induction and switching away from gas, which I absolutely get, and we wouldn't be an ideal partner for this. And I just want to figure that out as early in the process as possible.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Thank you for asking it. Thank you also for the work that you do, especially these days. I can imagine you're busier than ever. I will have to go back and talk to the senior director, actually, excuse me, recent promotion, the VP of local development here at EBCE to get a sense of that. Really, as you said, the objective of this grant is to expose as many chefs and as many community members as possible to this new technology. It was partially spurred by a lawsuit from the California Restaurant Association against the City of Berkeley natural gas ban. We realized that there really was a misconception of how induction could work in a commercial kitchen. That said, I think that we likely will have future funding opportunities that are more for the general commercial kitchen population. We put that on the back burner given COVID, thinking that a lot of people probably were nervous about making additional investments in their properties right now. But I think that we will be rolling something out soon. So Do you have an email that I could follow up with you on?
Of course, that would be great.
And or I'll post. Yeah, why don't you give me that, and I'll get I'll talk to JP and see what we can do for you.
If you don't mind, I'd appreciate it. It's my first name, Charlie, at sosmow.org. Easiest email address I've ever had.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And then, Mark, I'm sorry, did you have additional questions? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, just in general, yeah, figuring out kind of the parameters. I'll go through, I haven't had a lot of time to go through everything, but I'll get you feedback in terms of the program, the outline, and seeing everything. Here, you know, I designed this space specifically to be, since my background's in corporate team building and cooking classes, it actually has an open cooking line that can have large groups. And so it's kind of an ideal situation. And I'd been talking to Brian about that earlier last year about how it could be ideal for outreach. And one of the things we do is host events. We have 2 event venues. And so, you know, that's something that I think would be ideal. And I think we'll be a good candidate, and just need to look at, you know, those parameters, make sure there's nothing else. But very supportive and want to kind of do whatever we can to help get the word out. So, and it is challenging, I know, because even with in the restaurant industry, yeah, I've talked to several chefs that are just like, you know, their jaws dropped when they heard of the mandate. And I think because I had heard early and telling them, they're like, there's no way they're going to do that. There's no way. It's like, well, they can and they will. So get ready. But yeah, if we could be helpful to figure out how to help our fellow restaurateurs and commercial kitchens to do that, it'd be great. One of the things too that I used to work at all of the local ones, but in terms of corporate team building, there's also, I think, a great opportunity to do like sponsorship from, like, you know, when I was asking about equipment, Kitchen on Fire was really good at getting brands to sponsor. And so that's where I think could be a good outreach, and that's a win-win all around. So definitely be interested in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I especially appreciate your willingness to sort of look at the grant application and let me know where you think you might have a hard time getting info. I'm asking that of all folks who are potentially responding. You may have single line diagrams because you relatively recently built this facility. Others, that may be a huge ask, but it's all part of just evaluating the feasibility of the project. I think one of the things that we're most concerned about is that line service upgrade that I mentioned, that if your service to the building would need to be upgraded to accommodate new electrification, that can increase costs and cause delay to the project. So that's one of our early sort of feasibility screens. Not to say it would be a deal breaker, just to say that that's an important part of the evaluation process.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I agree. Your location sounds wonderful. It's a dream of ours to both be able to expose a lot of chefs and have a facility that could really accommodate public outreach. So that sounds great.
Great. And I guess at what point along the process will we have access to be able to talk with PRC before the deadline, or just help us evaluate kind of everything? Or
That's a good question. So I had considered that we would only work with selected applicants to sort of move into the TRC phase, but I'm wondering if there's a way we could think about where we maybe offer up a consultation for an hour and have folks, you know, maybe folks could sign up for like 15-minute increments within the hour and just basically bring a bunch of questions to TRC or maybe send them in advance. So, because I, you know, hearing you mention all the different technology types that you have, like I certainly can't provide guidance on matching electric to like high quality electric to what you have in place, but that's really what they're for. So, yeah, so I'll give that some thought.
Okay. That'd be helpful.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great. Well, I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead.
That's it for me and questions. I think I'm good for now.
Okay, cool. great. So I think, let me see if I can pull up this presentation one last time. Oh, is it sharing? It's sharing. Can you see on your screen the contact info for us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yep. So this is our general EBCE info. And again, I apologize that I just like completely lost my, the whole PowerPoint that I had here. You should have seen me half an hour ago. I was freaking out. So I also just added my email address up top there next to ebce.org. Feel free to take that down. Charlie, I have yours, so I'll email you hopefully before the end of the week with an answer. Other than that, the application is due October 9th is the date that we've requested. We're doing basically this exact same webinar again next Tuesday at 1 p.m., although hopefully I'll get a chance to add some pictures in there between here and then. And I think the deadline for questions is September 25th. So if you have any questions that come up as you're thinking about the application process, you can submit those via my email address here. And we're going to start accruing the questions we get and sort of post a question and response, not attributed to the asker, but just so that everybody has the same information. And that'll be up on our website probably the last week of September.
Okay.
If there is nothing else, then I will graciously thank you all for your time and for your patience, waiting for me to get it together this morning, and look forward to hopefully working with both of you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Becky.
Right.
Have a good one.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Yeah, you
Bye.
too. Take care.